turning on the camera. Oh. And welcome to Rubberduck 2021, and we are going to build, or I'm going to build, a browser for components in the online library. So for the people who haven't already seen the online library, it's this new website I created. It's over here, and let me just move over to my main display. So yeah, here you basically have like this, it's a website platform for sharing TouchDesigner components. So if we take a look in here, you can see like a lot of different components. For example, yeah, like the TouchCity preset manager. It has like a simple version control, and you can download it, and yeah, that's like running pretty smoothly already. And the nice thing is that the API is basically open, so we can also use TouchDesigner to create a simple overview over our different of the components and download them and place them directly in TouchDesigner, kind of like the old online library was already working. We are just going to yeah, build this, rebuild this again from the beginning. And yeah, let's start. So we're going to create a container here. And if you have questions, just write them in the chat. I will see if I can answer them. And we are going to name this one OlibBrowser. And inside, we're going to have another container, which will contain the UI part. I'm going to set here the modes to fill. And we are going to create a base component here, and that's going to be our engine. Going to give it an extension. Let's name Hi Michael, and let's name this one. It's the OlibBrowser. Basically, this one is going to take care of a lot of the parsing. And let's open this here in our code editor. So first step, what we of course need is we need a web client, that which is here. And just for testing, we can already put in a relatively simple request to list all of our components that are already there. Later I'm going to implement a pagination, so that I'm not like taking all the time pulling all the components, which for now is fine because it's like 30 different components. But because you can also register in the Olib, just like myself, and upload components, I hope that it's going to be more and more components. So it's I think it's a better idea to try to keep it as low as possible. And basically the way this one works, and just my audio is a little bit low. I'm trying to move the microphone a little bit closer here. Let's see if I can move this over here like this, and I suppose now it should be a little bit better. Let's hope so. Otherwise I can increase a little bit. So if you can give me some feedback on my audio level, feel free. So no, let me just increase a little bit here of the gain. Okay, back to the API. So the API points are open. So you can build your own implementation of this if you want to. So for example, there's also a step is going to be like trying to implement a update algorithm. So it's HTTPS, and then it's olib.amb-service.net, and then we have to use the /API, and then we're just going to look for the collections. And now if we send a request, we can already see, okay, we got quite a lot of stuff here. So what can we do with this? As you can see already, it's a list. So let us create a table here. And we're going to name this table simply, how are we going to name it? It's the found components output. And now we're just going to write us a little bit code to parse all the information. So let's get rid of this, and maybe let's just put this one in here because I might need it later. And we're going to name this one at fine, and going to write a function called parse parse component data self, and then we are going to look for the JSON, pure JSON text. And to parse it, actually, we also need to import the JSON module. And we're going to define our .component output is self.ownerComp op. I think it's a found component output, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look. Let's just copy the name here. Okay, so first thing what we're going to do is we're going to take the JSON text and see if it actually works. That should be relatively simple by just going to do JSON. So we're saying component data equals JSON.loads, and then we're going to give it the JSON text. And what we're then going to do is basically we're going to say the self component out, and we're going to clear it. And then we're going to cycle through every item of our component list. Yeah, definitely. Headless CMS are really great. And the first Olib was based, just something from Michael. The first Olib was running on Directus, which is running on PHP and MySQL. And it's a bitch to implement your own logic. So it already offers a lot, and using Docker, and even better when you have like a shared web space. So in Germany, for example, using Strato, you can just like put it there and it's running, and it's super nice. And with Strapi, what I'm using is yeah, I can implement my own custom logic. So for example, like the whole user management, who can use what and who's allowed to do what, and automate a lot of processes on the backend side, so users don't have to take care of it, especially like for download counters and stuff like this. So it's super handy. But that's not directly what we're going to do today. And we're saying for component in component data, we are now going to say, okay, self.component out. We're going to append the row. And yeah, that's going to be a list. And in this list, we maybe, so let's take a look what we can take a look in here. So we probably want to have the ID, because the ID is rather interesting. So yeah, we want to have the, no, I'm not rate limiting. It's like I'm still getting into all of this myself slowly. So for now it's running pretty smooth, and we will see if I have to rate limit. Yeah, what we want to do is we want to have the name, so we're going to put in the component, and we want to have the ID element attached. Then we want to have, of course, the name, because that's rather important. Yeah, the description will also be super interesting. So component/description, and I think that might actually be enough for now. So let's save this here. And what we're going to do now is we are going to check if we send a request, and after the request we're going to first look if we get a 200, because if we're not getting a 200 we have an error in some way, and if we have this we don't want to continue in any way. So at first we're going to say status code, and that's a dictionary with the code. And we're going to say if it not equals 200, then we're just going to return, and otherwise we're going to call the parent. What did we name? We named it parse component data, parent.parse component data, and we're going to put in the data, and we will have to encode the data because the data is for now pure yeah, like a pure byte data, and we have to bring it into a string format. So let's try this again, and we get an error already, which is not too hard. Bytes object has, okay, so it's not encode, it's decode actually. Okay, let's try this again, and we again have an error, key error description. So let's just copy the key from here, and let's try this again. All right, which is quite interesting. Yeah, right, because we're looking for the collections. We want to look for components actually, not collections. Okay, so here we already have 28 different components, and we want to display it and maybe make it able to give us a better idea about yeah, make it searchable. So maybe right now we're already going into all right, and what we are also going to do is we are going to store all this data, not just in a table, but also in a yeah, in our own data set, in a dictionary locally here. So we're going to say self component dict, and that's just going to be an empty dictionary here. And we are also going to say self.component dict, and we're just going to use the component ID as our key for it, and that's just going to be the component here. All right, so what we now want to do is we want actually to have the news component on top. So what we are going to do now is we're going to write us a little function here, and that's going to be called search components. Okay, and what we want the search components to be, thank you, Michael, for you too. So like for you too, a great year, not a happy birthday because it's my birthday and not yours. And yeah, for the search components, we want to be able to implement filters. So for example, what different filters we can have is, for example, we want to look for a component name. Then we want to have a owner name. Let me just check something. Like if we put a question mark afterwards, yeah, it's working totally fine. We want to have a component name, owner name. Then we need an offset, of course, because we are later going to use the pagination. So offset is going to be 0, and what we are also going to yeah, for the new JSON that I would need to have installed the experimental, and yeah, I'm not having it. Also, I'm really happy with doing it in JSON and completely in Python in this way using dictionaries. But yeah, in theory, this could also be super handy using yeah, some other how do you say, like using the JSON. That maybe that's something I will take a look into later. Also thinking about like creating a workshop using headless CMS systems like Strapi or Directus. But yeah, let's continue. Okay, next one is the page size, and this one's just going to be 10 for default. And let's see, so we have component name, owner name, offset, page size. I think this should be enough for now. And yeah, I'm going also to use like a self.endpoint equals https:// olib.amb-service.net/API and another slash, so we don't have to write it out all the time. Okay, so let's take a look at the request string equals, and we're going to use f strings here. It's super handy. Oh yeah, definitely media library for long-term installation is like such a great topic, especially because it's relatively simple. If you like get the first gist of working with this whole JSON API thing and having like the downloaded component, which I haven't uploaded already into the Olib, but I'm going to do it. Yeah, so our request string is going to consist of the self dot what is it called, endpoint, and then we're going to look for the components question mark. Then we're going to say we're going to name it, yeah, I just have to look it up actually, because there's like some, let me just check. So here we have the Strapi filter. I think it's called filter. Yeah, it's called the parameters. So what we want to do first is we want to set the limit. So it's like underscore limit equals, and we're going to use another f string here. That's going to be the page size. The next one, using an and, is going to be the start. So it's like underscore start equals, and that's going to be the offset offset multiplied by page size. Okay, that's already very good. Now we're just going to do like a dump, yeah, like to if things. I think I could write like a smoother one, but we're just going to say if component underscore name. Then we're going to say request string plus equals. We're going to put in a new f string, and what we will have to do now is we have to use a filter, and that's one. So we're not wanted to use equal, but instead we want to use in. So we will have to say name. So we have to put an and, then we have to say name underscore in equals, and then we have to put in the component name. And then we're just going to copy all of this again, and we're going to look for the owner name, and we're saying request string, and we're just saying owner dot name in owner name. Okay, and then we are simply going to just open here. You often use well, but there was a little. You often need to design your own connectors for the end user to push his media and convert. And yeah. Component, and this one is going to be the component client that comp.op web client 1. Okay. And then we're simply going to say self.component client that dot request, and we're going to use our request string we just created, and we want to use a get method here, and maybe just for now use a debug and give us our request string. Okay. So let's see, when we put in a text here and say parent, let's call this one search components with an S. Now if we hit R, oh perfect. Okay, so we already have it. We now have 10 components here, and we can also use now when we say component name, and we just say I want to have something with Tau City in the name. Ah, okay, so this isn't working as intended. Name in Tau City. I mean, it should work this way, no? Included in an array. I know we have to use contains. Okay, that's more. I like it. So let's try this again here. Let's clear this and let's do it again. Okay, so this one is working. We can also use search for users. So we want to say, perhaps one of us could devote the time to come up with a connector component for the one of the video specific CML. I think it's called user name, no, owner name. Okay, so just for interest, I think it should do it. Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, so from one CMS system I know of, Admira has like a very extensive library, but I think you will have to pay like $10 per client per month. And you can definitely do a little bit with Strapi and using, for example, so like using Storage Bucket, which is what I'm also doing, so to not like overload the CMS itself. And then the idea would probably be to implement your own front end for the end user to work with. So the next thing we also want to do is we want to be able to order it. So we maybe put in order by, and I think we want to order by the created at, and we want to have an order direction of descending. So let's see how we can order it. The filtering, implicitly, yeah, that's not what we are after right now. Combining and or deep filtering, sort, yeah, underscore sort. So what we're going to do is we're just going to say request underscore string equals plus equals f. We'll put in an and then I think it's underscore sort. Now we're going to say order by, and then we have to put in a double column. Yes. And now we have to put in the order direction. Okay, so we get an error for whatever reason. Ah, yeah, because I forgot. All right. Created at descending. That's not working for whatever reason. Let's see what the default says. Dang it. Okay. Sort ascending or descending. Order direction. Underscore sort created at. I mean, it should be. Oh, bad request. Oh, that's rather interesting. Why is it giving me this error? Okay. I have the feeling that it's because of this what I just put in here, because if I remove it, oh, suddenly it's giving me an error. That's unfortunate. But why though? Owner.name that doesn't appear on your model definition nor its relations. That's a bummer. What is the reason that it doesn't like? Nope. Yeah, it's still working as it's intended. Okay, so why doesn't it like it? I mean, it should like it. When we take a look here into it, can clearly see that we do have an owner. Ah, yeah, because it's owner.username. My bad. That's like owner.username. Okay, let's try this again. We want just to have components created by me. So username equals alphamoonbase. It's not username, it's owner name. Oops. Alrighty, so that's working too. Perfect. So the next step is we want to have the versions. So that's going to be the next step is going to be it's a table, and that's selected comp versions table. And because I'm actually not sure right now how exactly the versions here look like, I'm just going to say define select version self. We need the component ID for this, and this is where it comes in that we are also storing the information here in our local self component dict. Just realized we will have to clear this one too. Self.component dict. We're just going to do this. It seems clunky, but that's actually the way how you can clear a dictionary in Python. Which, I don't know, it seems clunky. I would probably more like use a .clear or something, but I think it actually doesn't have that. Oh, and file while parsing. Ah, yeah, because I have to put this one in here. Okay, so what we can do now is we can just say with the selected comp versions select versions. So what we can now do simply is we are going to say first we're going to component dict. Now we're saying solve.ownercomp.op selected comp versions. Now we're going to say self.versions table equals self.ownercomp.op and so forth and so forth. Okay, so we're saying self.versions table dot clear, and then we're going to loop over all of the different components. So again, we're saying for version in, first thing is, of course, we will have to check if it actually is there at all. So we can just say if component ID in self dot, what is it called, component dict, and we just want to do this if it's not there. return false with a big F. Did too much JavaScript lately. Self.component dict. And now we're again just going to say self.versions table append row. Versions append row, and we're going to give it the version. Well, let me just, I think I'm just going to append the version for now, like the whole dictionary, just to get an idea if it actually is working. So we're going to say select versions, and as the component ID we're just going to put in 28 here. Now we of course have an error. I think now we first have to search for it, and then we have to, okay, so here we have like the relation, as you can already see. We have the owner, which is also me, and the most important thing is, that's basically all we need. We need the ID of the version, and that's where like a new endpoint I just created comes in, because what we can now do is we can just use this ID and then use /download to get the right component. Okay. And maybe what we're also going to do is on init, we are just going to say, just wondering if we can do on init, can say already self.components. Yes, okay, we can, which is totally fine. And we should also clear the our versions table. All right, and that's kind of already a lot of the information we need, which we can then use to build our UI. So first thing, what we're going to do is we're going to use a global OP shortcut. We're going to name this one browser. Okay, so actually one thing I'm interested in is how deep does this all go? Let me just open up a browser here and put this in, because here we already have the nice JSON ID component views. All right, perfect. We also have the we also get the URL, the direct URL for the images. So maybe we also want to put this into our thingy. So it's image formats. Let me just put this into the script here, saying a component image. Then the formats, because we don't want to like download the big ones. Formats, thumbnail, and from the thumbnail we want to get the URL, and kind of we also want to know who created it. So we ask for a component owner. We ask for the name. This, so let's, we got an error. because I think not key error name. Yeah, because it's username. Because it's username. And another thing we also will have to take a look at is if the image is actually set. And what we can try here is, to be honest, I haven't really done this a lot. So we will write a lambda function. I think it's called lambda x double point. And then we're saying so we're going to return the URL if component image, and else it's going to be just an empty string. So let's see if this works. Yeah, nicely. So yeah, what a lambda function basically is like, you can define a function which is then handled or calculated in this space in the moment it gets called. So it's like an in-point function you can write. Or can we? Let me just check if we actually get an image path here, if it's... Oh no, we're adding the function? Let me just check how actually... I don't know if Ivan is here. Lambda functions. Function in Python. I mean, this should work. Lambda A. Oh yeah. So we're going to ask for X and just going to, I think. No, not directly. That's like an anonymous function. But I think if we put this in now, just check if this. Okay, it's not working this way, but I think we might actually get away with simply this one. Yeah, perfect. This way it works. Yeah, that's definitely something I'm just going to try, but just implementing like this whole if statement, this one-liner if statement also works flawless. So just gonna copy this, just gonna check if this one might work. So lambda x double, then we're going to ask here for x. Oh yeah, I mean, there isn't really a reason to use a lambda function here, but I'm just wanting to try them out for a while. So, I mean, it seems like to work also in this case. Yeah, but we're going to go with the one-liner. I wasn't sure if the one-liner if here is going to work, so... Okay. So I think what we might end up with, at first I was thinking about using the lister, but I'm not so sure if I really just want to use the lister, because now we also have access to like the search to the images. So what instead we are going to use is we're going to build this little fancy thingy, basically to display them in a nice grid using the background images. Might not be the most ideal, but it kind of works. So component selector, and what we're going to do here for the children is we're going to say left to right, we're going to say maximum of 2, and then we are going to create a simple container here. And in this container is going to be like selector 0. Then we're going to create a replicator, and the operator prefix is going to be selector, and it's now we're going to wait for this. So we're going to ask for the parent browser op engine / and then we're going to ask for the found components output. Has no attribute browser. Yes, you do. I know it's a global OP shortcut. Stupid me. And I'm going to ask for this. Bed master node specified. And okay. But you're not recreating any operators, so I suppose I have a bullshit. Found components output like this. And what we are going to do now is we are going to set this one to fill and make it like this. And inside, now we're just going to give it like some simple parameters like a string, which is going to be the background image path. And maybe we also need the name. And of course, we want the owner. All right, and here we're just going to reference the same table as here. Put this one in, and we're asking for me.digits, and for the background image, I think it was 4. Of course, with a comma here. All right, and the name of the component is somewhere in the name of the component is in the 1, and the owner of the component is in the 2. All right, so first thing we are going to do is we are going to take a movie file in here, and that's like one of the nicest things for my ways. Like you can just pull in an online image. Like you can put in an online image source, and that's like, what? Crazy. And we're just going to like set all of this shit to 0 to yeah, have it as low as possible, but we of course want to have the initial frame. Next thing is we are going to use an info chop here. Let's put this one in, and we want to know if the file is opening. That's like, oh, where is like opening? And as long as it's opening, we another thing we also want to take care of is on the tune page, no, in the image page, we want just set this one to 0, and we are going to put in like for now a little text, and the little text is going to fill the parent panel resolution. Loading. And then we are going to use a constant here for now, which also has the parent panel resolution, just like no alpha in the background. And we are going to use an over here, this one in here, and we're going to say fit outside. Now we're going to use a switch. To put this one in here, and now we're going to use a null here, which is like background. We're going to put this one into the look, and now if we close this one here and use a replicator, we can see we get the same image for all of them. Rather interesting. Because they all have the okay. That's really interesting. Let's maybe set this to Q to 1. I mean, this doesn't make a lot of sense here, actually. Let's check this image out directly. Why is it having all the same? I mean, it should like... Ah, that's the reason. Because I just like took the, yeah, of course, because I want to put in a reference of this. So let's redo this. Awesome. So, yeah. Yeah, no, the reason wasn't the reload. The reason was that I put in here the reference, the expression inside of this parameter instead of referencing this parameter. So the issue was, yeah, more like, yeah, it was just bullshit. Issue on my side. So let's put in a little bit of spacing here, like 2 pixels. And now if we go into our engine here and now say offset equals 1 in all theory. So perfect. You see, like we put in like a 0. It's like loading these components. If we put in a 1, it's now also loading the components quite nicely. Yeah, but I think it would be nice to have like a little loading icon instead of just a script loading. So what we're going to do is we're going to build like a little base here, and we'll call this one loading icon. And we're just going to use a circle here. We're going to, let me just close this one here. Set the fill color, the fill alpha to 0. We set the border width to like this, and now we're going to use a ramp with a simple, let's use an LFO here. Set this one to radial. Let's set the period to 0.5. Set this one to mirror. Oh, maybe let's set it to 2.5. And let's set this one to a ramp. And now we just like, oh dang it. I have to set amplitude to 2 here. Maybe let's set the border color to something more this, and now we multiply it. Maybe let's set the black to more of a gray. Let's set this one to output, and maybe let's make it also a little bit smaller. Okay, so now we go into our selector here, and instead of the text here, we are going to use a select. Now we're going to select our output like this. Then we're going to use again an over this one in this case, and now we are going to set it to fit best. We're going to feed this one into our switch here. So now if we go into our engine again and now set the offset to 0, I mean, it's still loading all of these components pretty fast, so I think there's no reason to build it, but we're going to continue even further, and that is going to be putting a name over it. So yeah, I mean, we already had the text, so let's use the text here. Let's set it to parent panel size, and we're just going to reference the parent. Bop, 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 bop. Now we're just going to say reference instead, and we're setting the font to auto fit always. Give it a little bit of border space, like 2 pixels. And of course, we are going to put it on the top here, because we're also going to use a second text where we are now instead referencing the owner who made this. So geez. Yeah, okay, so it's going to be parent par dot width and the parent height divided by 2, pop, and basically going to be the same for this one. And instead, of course, going to reference this one, and then we are going to use a layout here. And we're going to set this one to parent panel size and top to bottom. And yeah, I think what we can do here is instead we're going to use a composite where we put this one, and yeah, oh, we don't even need this one anymore because we can just say over pop, and I'm going to say input 1 and say fit outside. So now if we reload all of this, yeah, we get like speed lines, Tower City preset manager, loading icon, alphamoonbase, stuff like this. Now we can go even further to bring in maybe some animation. And yeah, I think I want to bring in the tweener for this one. Or maybe we just don't for now. So next step is we need a version selector. So yeah, and I think for the version selector we will in fact use a lister, because I think it's the simplest. So another container. Let's set this one to fill. Now if we change a little bit here the size, we get like this nice looking, oh, it's still super small. I think we can even like put in a blur here. Doesn't really matter so much. Yeah, I think this one looks better, way better. It has like this. So yeah, right. So this one is going, and okay, now what we're going to do now, of course, is we are going to, yeah, we need the ID also actually. So we're just going to say, let's use an int here. Is it an int or a string? That's a good question. I think, yeah, it's an int. So we're going to put in the ID here, which is basically the same. So let's put in the ID, which is at 0. Perfect. And yeah, let's replicate this. All right. So let's use a panel execute here. And in this panel execute, we are going to say, okay, on select, on off to on, we're going to say parent dot browser dot engine dot, and here we're going to say select version. Now we're going to say parent dot par dot ID, and we're going to evaluate it, because otherwise we might get into Hell's Kitchen here. And yeah, so when I click this, we get an error for yeah, because we have to look into the operator and select an operator and not. That's like a shame that we always have to use like this OP here, but I don't care. Okay, so still because it's selected versions, typos are a bitch. All right, so let's replicate this again, and now if we click here, we can see that, yeah, we can simply select our versions. Yeah, internal shortcuts, yeah, definitely a good call. That's like, I never really use them. I'm not sure why. Internal OP shortcut. Maybe because they have to be defined on like the top level. So people can just like break it, maybe in a way. It's hard to say. But yeah, you're totally right. Engine, and of course UI/UI, and then we're going to say enable read only. Take your fingers off of it. That's definitely a good call. So let's try that. Okay, yeah. It's the birthday boy, living in a birthday world. What's the +A, Tomish? Yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know if they are new, the internal operator shortcuts, or if they are like I don't know if they are still running, or if they are super old, but like I was super happy when like this whole parent shortcut got introduced, so I'm using it basically everywhere. I mean, this is also something which can be thrashed by users, but yeah, I'm like, wasn't sure about it. Okay, let's let me just check a message here. Okay, now we want this one to be the version selector. So again, here we are now like really simply just going to use the put in an expression. It's going to be IOP. We're going to use now. Got engine, and we want the selected comp versions, and still going to have to use like an DOP here. Okay. Yeah, and we of course still have to decide what we need here, and that's going to be versions. We of course need the ID. We need the version. We need the main version. We need the build, I think. I mean, there are now the new dependables tag that got introduced, which offers some very nice way of, which are, I think, bindable, and which you don't even no longer need like this whole TDF create property thingy, but instead you have like this, and then you can bind them. But yeah. We need the build, and we need the patch notes for later. So let's try this again. Okay, here they are. Boop 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 boo. Doo doop doo doop doop doo. Happy birthday plus birthday boy. Thank you, Tomish. All right, so basically what we are going to use now is we're going to use UI, and we're going to just put in the lister here, put this one in, and yeah, I think we will have to do some little hacking here, because what we don't need is yeah, we want selected, we don't need multiple. Arrow keys is kind of interesting, we can use this. Highlight row over, and then yeah, and that's oh yeah, so now we can edit the column definitions. And what we don't need in our column definition is we don't need the oh, I think this was the wrong one. Column label. Huh. I think we should like dang it, how was it? Source data should be 1. Yeah. So that's like the main version. I'm just going to remove the label here. Then we have the build. So this one is coming from number 2, and we also don't need the this one. So yeah, well, we don't. So we can go to edit column definitions again, make them stretchy boys. They're going to be long boys, and let's put this long boy here in the layout to be fixed height, no, fill the height. I think we will not need the horizontal scroll bar here. And the width is for now also going to be fill, but it's just going to be 0.1, for example. And yeah, I mean, it's like, and now comes the really nice part is we want just the out selected. Ah, come on. That kind of sucks. Okay, so we have to do some little hacking here. Copy this one, add after, no, insert after, delete, and copy it. And this one's going to be description. source data is from 3, and this one's just going to be not visible at all. Because what we can now do is like when we select it, we now use select here, and the select here is going to be for only our description. And now comes the nice part, is when we use a web render, we can just define that here. In theory. So let's convert it to a text. I think now it should work. And we have to, of course, do it active. And like this, we kind of have like a. So let's transparent background. Selected, and we're going to use to change the comp type to be a container. And this one will be, set this one to be the panel size. Okay, now let's do something else. Simply let's use, I think it's under tools, it's the web browser here. And what we are going to do in the web browser here is we're going to define our own input here. We're just going to put this one in, and in the web render we are going to say like this, please. And now when we reload, it's not visible any longer. But why though? There it is. And we want, yeah, so like the background color is going to be like a light gray here, so we can actually see what's going on. And we're going to set this one also to fill. Then we're going to say children left to right. Isn't working for some curious reason. Okay, because it's not displayed. And this one is going to be the 1, and this one's going to be the 1. So now we can, by simply pressing this button here, selecting a specific version. So we can also be like, okay, we want to have circular audio, initial upload, initial release, just like this. And yeah, one thing we also want is we want to have the lister edit callbacks. So we're saying IOP, parent shortcut is the version. selector. And in the callbacks, and it's going to be, let me just check the custom callbacks. When it but before initial refresh, I think it was called on post init, yeah. And we just have to take a look into what we actually then have there. So now if we what's going on now? It's like oh, dang it. Why is it? It's like, did I just destroy something? Hello? Not even sure if this is executing at the moment. Yes, so this is working. Okay, it's just that the post init is not working. Why isn't it working? Ah, yeah, because I think it's on refresh. I think it's then on I think it's called on post refresh, if I'm not mistaken. Refresh. Let's see. I think Ivan showed me something. It's like just the post in it, but that's, yeah, I think we can just try with the on refresh one. Lister extension. Ah, yeah, here it's the owner comp. So, and what we want to just do is we want to set the info owner comp part dot, and that's like the important part. The selected rows parameter. It's 1. It's not displaying it. Seems like kind of a bug maybe. But yeah, so what we can do now is we can select our component. Don't have to like call it all the time. Simple enough. And what we now need is, of course, a way to download the component. And for this, I'm going to use a component I already which we kind of already have. So let's go to the OLib, just here. Let's just press on any, and now we're just going to download the OLib link that's already running. I don't know if you've already seen the OLib link. It's here. So with the OLib link now, I don't know if you've seen it. Just gonna demonstrate it real quick. So we're going to use the maybe the speed lines. So, and as you can see now here in right, it says place in project. And when I do it, you can now see that it's like already did it, and I can move around and just like place the speed lines in the project, just like that. I think because it probably all. Oh, I just realized I will have to save the project real quick. It's the OlibBrowser. I'm just going to give it a new folder. It's like the OlibBrowser folder here. Only someone could have warned me. Okay, now I can show it again, because now we're in another project. And yeah, here it is. Simple like that. So let's put this in again. Maybe try it with another component here. Oh, it doesn't want any longer. Strange. Very strange. But anyway, that's not what we are here for, because what we are here for is the file downloader here. Which is like a pretty nice component, because what you can basically do with this one is you can, yeah, download stuff really quick. Just gonna remove the callbacks here, create a new set of callbacks. Now, of course, we're going to move this one into the engine, because that's like part of the engine. And let's go to the engine part. And what we are going to do here is we're going to define download version, version ID. We're going to define our downloader equals self.owner.conf.op file downloader 1. And what we're going to say is just have to remember the API I built for this. Query download. Just going to say self.downloader.query download, and going to use an f string here, and we're going to say self.endpoint slash versions slash, and we're going to put in the version ID here. And now we can just use the download endpoint, and this one is going to like give you all the important information about the paths and stuff like this, and just simply also increasing the download counter. And that's basically it. So we can save this one here. And yeah, then we have to actually even not sure at the moment if it's like creating. Yeah, I think it should create the folder itself. Okay, so we will have to select the noised plane here. And what we're going to do now is going to create a simple button here for now. We're going to put in a panel execute here. And with this panel, what we're going to do now is we are going... I should have known. Ah, dang it. Yeah, to be honest, I think I'm going to like change this here a little bit. Yeah. I don't really like working with tables, to be honest. That's like, there's a reason for that. Yeah, not gonna use this one here, to be honest. Just gonna remove all of this here. And we're going to use not gonna display the button here for now. States, a little bit of state management here. Little bit of state management. Yeah, we're going to use a table. Are we going to use a table? We kind of have it. Just gonna change this up here a little bit. Okay, so first one is going to be a simple text here. We're going to feed in here. We're going to work with the callbacks again, and this one is going to be the description. And this one is going to be the download button. And we are going to give it the ID. And just gonna give it like the use it as a string. Use it as a string, and we're just going to like based on this if me.par.id and now in the callbacks we're just going to say let me just we want to use we want to have our own actions here. We want to use input, setup, features, advanced. So yeah, that's like custom callbacks, advanced callbacks. here are the methods exactly. That's what we want. Here we want to have the select row, and we want to select row 1. Let's just check if this is still working. I suppose not. Oh yeah, yep, it's still working, and because of this, we can now print the info we get here. So when we select one, we also have this specific callback. Okay, and now on collected, we want to work in the row object. Row data or the dict. We want to set the description OP. Just check the selector. So we say on select parent dot selector OP description text equals info, and we want from the info, we want to have the row data, and from the row data we want to have the row object. And from the row object, we want to have element 1, 0, 1, 2. Want to have element 3. So let's see if this is working. No, it isn't. Oh, come on. Fucking indents. Where is this coming from? Okay. This is working. Then we want to set the download button, the ID, to like this. Oh, has no .bar.id like this. Right, so 32. And what we can do now is we go into the engine, and in the engine we just request the download versions. IR.engine. Is it .engine? Yeah. IR.engine.download version. Then we want the panel value.owner.par.id. Okay, let's see if this doesn't work, of course. And the target directory, of course. Yeah, the target directory should be download. Yeah, wrong part. Should be here. Downloads like this. Okay, so now let's take a look at our desktop in the OlibBrowser. Here's downloads. And we have a download file. 0 KB. No, that's... It's rather interesting. Let's take a look here. Oh, come on. It's this whole redirect thingy, which it doesn't like, I think. So, but why though? Okay, so it says... Let me maybe find a better suited candidate. Let's find some, this one is working. Boop, 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 boop. Where does the P come from? Load icon. Let's take a look at the load icon. So what happens if we put this into a browser? Yeah, so it's giving me the right... Dang it. It's like not what I intended. Okay, so I mean there was a file. But why? Okay, so this is working. Why isn't it working with the whole... Huh. get some errors or something, or do I have like... Or do I still have the old downloader? Right line. Uh-huh. Alrighty, so now we're getting an error, which is nice. That's rather interesting. So let's turn this off here. Seems like you are the culprit here. So still not able to do the whole finish. Throw data, but it's like not. It never finished the download. Why didn't it finish the download? That's rather interesting. So we're getting road data, but we're not finishing the whole thing. That's an interesting one. Because I think it is somewhat lagging behind, I suppose. So in this case, we might actually need to remove this here. Okay, let's try it this way. How interesting. Oh yeah, it's not active. So let's try this again. Okay, and now we just name this one Talks. Let's put it in here. Okay. Okay. But I think there was a problem with all of this. So what happens if we I mean, it's working. It would be nice to have like a way of resetting the download progress, because I think if it's like a super small, but why is it lagging behind? That kind of bugs me. That really bugs me. It's like still interested in this one here. Row data, and let's get the progress as a value here. So let's kill the download here and let's try this again. It has no attribute value. How exactly was this done? I think it was like a 0 here. That's so exciting, and still 4 people watching. So row data, row data, row data, row data. Oh, and I want to know the size. Okay. Just have to delete this here. Font type is not subscriptable. Downloaded size. I think I'm going to need to use the downloaded size here to actually get it running. Oh, come on. It's like scope. Give me the downloaded size here. And let's move in. That's definitely super interesting why this is happening. But I think it's like a step in the right direction to have it running like this again. I was like, I removed this part specifically. But I mean, we can probably work with this for now. And I think what might also be interesting is to yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. Already kind of tired, and it was like 2 hours working nicely. So what did we do today? We can now like query components. We can now somewhat differently already download our components. We can select them, switch between different versions here very nicely. So And yeah, we can use a button to download a specific version of this component already. So I think that's going to be it for today, also because I got a question on Steam. So except you want to watch me play Borderlands 3, I'm going to turn off now, I think. So just gonna let this one open for a moment and gonna put it into the OLIB soon too. So yeah, bye bye, enjoy the evening, and